Hi, my name's Drea. I'm here to present to you about the Empulse app. Thank you. I think I met most of you yesterday. Thank you for letting me present remotely. We came up with a partially established solution, and we're looking to apply it to some of the problems that the city of Austin is facing. Hopefully provide some solutions. So without much ado, I'll launch into it. The Empulse app is an app to fund nonprofits at scale. Um, Primarily focused on nonprofits for homelessness right now. I'll tell you a little bit about how that came to be. The We are a boutique consulting agency for high tech and medicine. We're not really a tech company. We tend to focus on solutions. So we look at problems in legacy industries, and we try and use high tech to solve them. This is a beautiful quote by Karen Kilroy. It kind of sums up the way that we think about things. And Empulse started as a solution to homelessness, which is a pretty tough problem a lot of people are working on. If people ask, then we tell them that we work in the chasm. So it's kind of like a little bit after most of the tech has been developed and a little bit before it's actually useful. That's when we like to try and get involved and make it more useful. This project started from Stanford Medicine, Inclusion and Equity in AI. They asked us to look, the President's Foundation asked us to look and see if we can make AI more inclusive, because they felt that a lot of people weren't getting the benefits of this new technology. We made the Empulse project, which started as a project. It became a tool, and now it's being split off into a company of its own. And I'll go into that in a bit. So the idea behind people behind this are scientists and developers. The Stanford team is data scientists and AI scientists. And public health professionals, and then the developers are from the consulting company. They're a little bit more delinquent looking. They're from all over the world, and they came together and used their savanting to make this prototype. Let's talk a little bit about the problem of homelessness, just to put it in a better lens. So the problem is that when you look at poverty, there's two kinds of poverty. There's absolute poverty, which is what you often think of when you look at the top, like people who can't meet their basic needs. But we also have relative poverty. That's people who are born into a society and can't contribute to the same degree that they should be able to. And when we talk about homelessness in the U.S., we're really talking about relative poverty. So there's about 500,000 homeless people in a single night in the U.S., according to the point-in-time estimate. We'll talk about that more in a minute. About 80,000 of them are chronically homeless. 35,000 of them are youth, and a lot of those youth are LGBTQ. When we look across the U.S., the West Coast struggles with homelessness, so does Florida. Texas is struggling with it now and likely to increase. The rates of homelessness are likely to increase because of the recent explosion of the tech hubs. And we might see the same problem we saw in San Francisco and Seattle when those tech hubs took off. When we're talking about somebody who's homeless, if you can't meet your basic needs, food, water, rest, shelter, safety, it's very hard to perform beyond that level, beyond the level of trying to meet those basic needs. It's hard to get a job, it's hard to make reasonable connections, and it's hard to get treat addictions or get control of a mental health condition when you're still worried about food and housing. When people are panhandling, generally about 70% of the money they get cash on the street goes to meet basic needs. The problem is that most organizations who work with the homeless will ask you not to give cash to the homeless directly. And here's the California nonprofit saying, please don't give cash directly. Here's the Canadian police saying the same thing. And I think the Wyoming police said it the best. They found a man, they arrested a man for public drunkenness, and he had a lot of cash in his pocket from panhandling. And they said it wasn't a judgment against the man. They just said, please, can you give the money to the local nonprofit? Because they do a better job of taking care of this man than he's able to take care of himself right now. So I think that even if we lay aside the debate on whether or not we give cash directly on the street, about 29% of people are not using cash at all right now. And that number is only increasing. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to meet basic needs with panhandling. So when we made Empulse, we made it as a tool to give the basics to somebody. The idea was that just like you can impulsively purchase music, you have the Shazam app, you go out to a restaurant, you hear a song you like, you hit the button, and then you buy the music. You could possibly impulsively purchase nonprofit services for people who are homeless. So you set the amount that you want to pay, You look and see how many organizations are nearby, you hit the button, and then the money goes out to those organizations. So the idea was that it was a very simple interaction that could help bridge this digital divide between people who have cash and people who don't. And the idea was that the funds would because they were directed directly to the nonprofits, you could eliminate some of the cash going into the drug trade. So we have the app live. It's in the Apple and iOS store. We have the website up. And now let's talk a little bit about like the next steps. So when we're looking at the app, we really wanted to make it sustainable and independent, and also to bring cash to nonprofits, like bring cash they didn't already have, not take anything away from current interactions. So we built the app on a sustainability model. We take $1 US for the paid app. We take 1% of all purchases, and we believe that impact is important, and it's a metric that we consider to be a marker of our success. We think about 81% of people own a smartphone. There's 266 million adults in the U.S., and they gave $427 billion to charity in 2018, and that doesn't count the cash that went into the street and wasn't measured. So we think that if we give 99% of the in-app purchases to local charities, we can actually increase the amount of resources and support that are available, kind of in an independent economy. We wanted to help free populations, people who are unhoused. We wanted to increase their environmental supports in a groundswell, getting more money to the local nonprofits. We wanted to help commuters just have a really good interaction, to feel good about giving, and to want to give, and to give when they felt like it. To have it be like a positive psychology moment, where they could feel generous and empathic and have it be 100% positive. We wanted policymakers to be able to plan and measure more effectively. If you look at the point-in-time estimate, which is a brilliant metric but very difficult to do, we only get it about once every 2 years. And we thought that we could run this app simultaneously with that and see if they correlated. Our hypothesis is that the Empulse, the occurrence of a donation on Empulse will correlate with the point-in-time numbers and help to show short-term migration patterns and help people make plans in the short term. So we wanted to implement this with nonprofits, police departments, city governments, and downtown businesses for kind of a holistic cross coverage in the community. Basically, we think if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And we wanted to give you a better metric. You did ask for a dashboard. So talking about the strategic direction for 2023, homelessness really fits into a lot of these. So economic opportunity and affordability. In San Francisco, 30% of the homeless people are full-time employed. They just can't afford to live there. So homelessness is a big issue when it comes to affordability for a city. Safety, women on the street really struggle with safety, and so it's a big issue for the population, not only who are housed, but who are unhoused. And then health and environment, people who are homeless are more likely to be admitted to hospital, and they end up staying about 4 days on average longer because of concerns about discharge. And then a government that works for all. People who are homeless are also part of the city of Austin, and they deserve to be represented in the metrics that the city measures for its success. So we made a dashboard for you guys. We have the app, it's been running for a little while, and we just added a dashboard to the website. So it's a very simple API call. I'd love to do something more elaborate, but here's our homepage. And then we just added an extra tab. It says map, and then it shows you the US, and it shows you where people are donating. So people have donated in San Antonio, California, and Austin. And if you zoom in on the map, you can see like where in the city people are donating. And this is a pretty simple API call right now, so we want to make it more elaborate. We probably need a bit more funding or time for that. And that this is like an example of what that would look like in San Francisco, where you have like a heat map of the area, and it's constantly updating with each donation. So it can kind of give you an idea if you were going to buy property next month where to put the shelter. So I think I've gone on for a while. I just wanted to say thank you again for letting us present, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great hackathon. I'm excited for the one in October. So thank you. And if you have any questions, there's the resources. We had a great team.